What's going on, guys? It's your favorite fitness coach, Joel Staley, and today we're talking about breaking bad. No, this is not a tutorial teaching you how to cook up meth in a camper out in the desert because you have cancer and you want to provide for your family, although that would be pretty sweet. We're talking about breaking bad habits. Now, it was Aristotle who said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit, and we should all know by now the importance of the daily habits that compound, which can be a benefit, but in this video we're talking about the detriment of daily compounding habits that are actually affecting you in a negative way, bad habits. So to get into that, it's very important to understand the habit loop. Now there's some great books on this. You have The Power of Habit, you have Atomic Habits, and they break this down very well, but we're going to give you the overview here. And essentially, every habit falls into the habit loop, which is a three-step system, which is the cue, which leads to the routine, which leads to the reward. It all starts with the cue. The cue is a trigger that sets the habit into motion. A lot of times these habits we don't even think about, because what tends to happen is when we perform the same thing, same type of act over and over and over again, what our brain does is conserves energy by just putting it on autopilot, making you like a zombie that maybe smokes a cigarette or gets McDonald's in the morning without even thinking about it. Think about if you've driven home from the same office for 5 years, you probably have had times you're pulling in the driveway and you're thinking, man, I don't even really remember the drive home. I just kind of took the same route I always do, and I was totally thinking about something else. That is because it's ingrained in your brain now as a habit. So breaking those bad habits can be tough, but again, we're going to teach you how to do it. The cue is the initial trigger that sets that habit into motion. Great example is when I wanted to stop biting my nails. I felt like I tried everything to the point I even wore winter gloves in high school because I thought if I'm wearing gloves, I won't bite my fingers and be a dirt ball. But it didn't work, and it wasn't until I found this out that I got it solved. Identifying the trigger, in my case, was I would scan my fingernail for any sort of imperfection, and as soon as I found one, that was my trigger to boom, start biting my nail, which is the routine. Now, real quick, the cue can be internal or external, meaning it could be anxiety, it could be boredom, it could be fear, it would be internal or external, it could be a commercial on TV, it could even be just the time of day. So you have to be very intentional when figuring out what your cue is, but it's very important to figure out. Once the trigger hits, you're now doing the routine. The routine is the habit itself. The only reason you're performing this habit is to lead to the reward. So again, in my case, I wanted smooth nails. So cue, bite is the routine or the habit, and then the reward was, okay, now I can scan it, it's a nice smooth nail. Here's the key on breaking any bad habit. You identify the cue, you keep it. You identify the reward, you keep it. What you want to do is replace the routine with something more productive that'll get you that same reward. So in my example, what I did is I would make note when I did this, and instead of automatically putting it in my mouth, I would start carrying a nail file around with me. I would file that nail down, completely replace the routine, and I would get that same reward of a nice, smooth nail. Let's look at another example. Say your nighttime eating is your bad habit that you're really trying to curb. Now, it's much easier to replace a bad habit than it is to just get rid of it completely. That's what this whole video is trying to demonstrate. So we identify the cue. For me, it's sitting down at the end of the day, turning on Netflix or turning on the TV, zoning out and being bored and thinking, I need some sort of oral fixation, I need to be doing something, and that leads me to the cupboard or the pantry, and I get into Lucky Charms or the Doritos, etc. So I now have something to nibble on. I feel like I'm doing something while I'm watching TV. Obviously not very productive as a fitness coach or somebody who's trying to stay in great shape. So I identified my cue, sitting down on the couch, being bored, watching TV. My reward was feeling like I was doing something, having a little bit of sweetness, taking care of that oral fixation, but I didn't want to be eating Cheetos and Doritos. Not good for what I'm looking to do. So what I did is I replaced that with making a nice, healthy, but sweet protein shake with some juice blended in, and that took care of all of those things that I was looking for. It got me the same reward and stemmed from the same cue. Every bad habit you possibly have fits into this little trinity right here. Identify this, keep them, and the whole goal is to figure out how can I switch out this habit that's going to be more productive so I get to my goals quicker without missing out on this reward. Now guys, last thing I'm going to say about this is it does not happen overnight. I know it takes usually 2 or 3 weeks for a habit to ingrain itself. So don't think that you're just going to do it night one, have a protein shake, and not be thinking about Doritos. You have to be intentional about this for 2, maybe even 3 weeks. And before you know it, I'm telling you 30 days in, you're just going to find yourself getting up, blending a protein shake, sitting back on the couch, drinking that protein shake and thinking, wow, I didn't even think about that. Didn't think about Doritos, didn't think about Cheetos, didn't think about kids cereal, and these habits fix themselves. Now you still have a habit, but it's a good habit. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. I know habits and changing out habits, breaking bad habits, it's a very in-depth conversation, so let me know what questions you have in the comments. Do me a favor, hit the like button so other people can see this and work on their habits. We're all in this together. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.